So, for those of you who have not seen a video lately by me, there's an explanation for that. I have not made a video in over a month, and as you can clearly see, I now have a black eye. I have a broken hand. Comparison. And there's a reason for that. I also have stitches on the leg, as you can clearly see. My ex, who I've talked about numerous times in these videos, decided to call me one day 2 weeks ago and asked to come over so that we could work things out. I, being the fool that I am, accepted his invitation. For 2 weeks on and off, things went okay. He would stay the night. He would leave. He would want to fulfill his drug habit. He still wanted me to pay for it. Eventually, I just became extremely fed up with it. I saw that there was no future yet again, and on April 17th of this year, 2013, I set his clothes outside. I locked all of my doors because he has no key. He does not live here. I locked all of my doors so that he could not re-enter my property. He sends a text to my roommate and asks him to open the door that night that I set his clothes out because he was locked out. And my roommate proceeds to tell him that if he is locked out, he's locked out for a reason, and that he would not get up and let him in. So my ex decides to break into my house through my bathroom window. Upon re-entering the house, the first words out of my mouth were, "How did you get in here?" And he said, nonchalantly, casually, "I came in through a window," like it was nothing. So, in order to not get the shit beat out of me, I said, "Okay, that's fine, you know. Let's just go to bed." And that's exactly what we did. The next morning he wakes up, he's perfectly fine again. 2 days later, I am awakened in the middle of the night from sleep. I had to go to work the next day. So, I was woken up in the middle of the night by him, who was sitting in a chair on the other side of this room in front of me. And he's like, "Get up, bitch. Get up." And I said, "Baby, what's the matter? What's wrong?" "I just want to punch you in the face." Can you imagine what it's like to be woken up from your sleep for somebody to tell you that they just want to punch you in the face? And I said, "Why?" You know, I was trying to calm him down and handle the situation like an adult. "Why?" He said, "I don't know. I just want to punch you in your face right now." I was like, "Well, what is the problem? You need to calm down." And he said, "Stand up." I said, "No, why do you want me to stand up?" He was like, "Bitch, just stand up." So I stood up, and as a woman, the first place my hands went were to my stomach. Because for you guys out there who do not know this, for a woman to be hit in her, that's the first place we're going to protect. It's, from what I have studied in anatomy, it's equal to a guy being kicked in his balls if somebody punches you in your ovaries. And I knew that's what was going to happen. So I had my arms over my stomach, and he says, "Move your arms." And I said, "No, I'm not moving my arms. What is it? What is the problem? Why can you not calm down?" "Because you need to move your arms. I want to punch you in your face right now, but I'm not going to. Just move your arms." I said, "Okay, fine." He stands up from the chair that he is sitting in, which I will show you. It's directly over here. Right there. See, it's right directly beside the bed. He stands up from that chair. I'm sleeping here on my side of the bed. I move my arms from in front of my stomach, and he punches me as hard as he can in the stomach. And I said, why did you do that?" And he proceeds to tell me that he wanted to knock the breath out of me. And I said, "Why would you do that?" And he says, "Because you deserve it, bitch." And then he gets up and comes and lays on the other side of the bed like nothing ever happened. Like nothing ever fucking happened at all. And we go to sleep. And then the next day starts. That would be the 18th of April. Which I will elaborate more after I put some clothes on. Actually, I need to rephrase my last comment simply because that would not have been the 18th. He broke into my house on the 17th. The 19th was when he punched me in the stomach, and the 20th would have been when we woke up together. And things were fine again. Even though throughout this entire time I wanted him to leave, I had set his clothes on my front porch and locked my doors at least 3 times in the 2 weeks that he had been coming back and forth to my house on and off and asking me if we were in a relationship, and I continued to say, "I will not be in a relationship with you again after suffering a year with you before until you prove to me that you're no longer a cheater, that you prove to me that you're no longer abusive, that you prove to me that you are no longer addicted to incense, weed, pills that your mother hands you by the fistful. No, there will be no relationship until you prove to me that does not exist anymore." Okay, so he agrees that he wants to spend the rest of his life with me and that he is trying to change. He has tried to convince everybody at my workplace that he has tried to change, that he is going to change, that he's a different person, that he's working on himself. Blah, 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 blah. I've heard all that bullshit before. That's why I got rid of him the last time. And I was perfectly happy for months. Months. Until I invited him back into my life. And decided to give him a second chance. Because I believe everybody deserves a second chance. I will never not be able to believe that. And he deserved a second chance. He was acting like he had some sense when he came back around. Apparently that doesn't last very long. The next day, which is the 20th, we woke up and everything was fine. Everything was fine. Until he asked me to buy him alcohol. Because he has no job still, and has no money still, and wants me to support him. I said, "You can have alcohol if you can control yourself and not do anything crazy." Like a fool, once again, I believed that that would be what would happen. That he would be able to control himself. Second chances. No. I recently built a fire pit in my backyard, close to my garden. He drinks his alcohol, destroys the fire pit completely. The neighbors behind me are like, the next day I walk outside and they were like, we were going to call the police because we saw what he did. And you just sat there. And it was obvious you were scared, but we didn't call the police because we didn't want to get involved in your business. And I said, well, you should have called the police right then. Not only does he destroy the fire pit, he takes a hammer of mine and has so much rage on the inside of himself, apparently, that he literally bends an iron hammer in half by beating it on every object that he can find. Then he proceeds to kick my porch to the point that all of the lattice work on my porch within a 1 foot square by 1 foot square radius or square is destroyed. And then he tries to fix it with the hammer that he had just destroyed. Well, when that's unsuccessful and he sees that that is unsuccessful, he grabs a rake from the side of the house and beats it up against the house to the point that it breaks. And then he comes up to me and gets in my face while I'm sitting there still acting calm, trying to tell him to calm down, trying to calm him down the entire time. He takes this rake and bashes it up against the side of the house repeatedly until the end of it breaks off. And he's like, I just want to beat this shit out of something right now. I just want to beat the shit out of something right now. And I said, baby, you need an anger management class. It's that obvious. You need an anger management class. Because apparently you cannot handle pills that aren't prescribed to you. They're prescribed to people who hand you these hand over fist, like your mother and your grandmother. You steal these pills from these people, and they have an issue with that, yet whatever. At any rate, my roommate comes outside and is like, dude, you need to calm the fuck down. She is sitting here doing absolutely nothing, trying to calm you down, and now I'm a man, I'm coming out here, I'm going to take care of this situation. You need to sit the fuck down and chill out. If you don't sit down and chill out, not only will I call the police to come arrest you, but the next door neighbors who are watching you do all of this, and mind you that these people are old that live next door. They're in their 60s, 70s. They will call the police as well. So he finally sits down because I'm assuming that he doesn't want to go to jail. At any rate, he finally gets calm. We come inside and we sit down and everything's fine again. Like nothing ever happened. I make dinner like nothing ever happened. And I didn't, in my mind, I want to pretend like nothing happened because I don't want to believe that he is this person. He is not this person unless he drinks or unless he's on some pill. I cannot tell you how many times in our past relationship I called poison control. I called his mother, who claims to be a nurse. Are you serious? This bitch is handing him pills hand over fist. I don't even trust him going to her house because I have weaned him off of drugs and gotten him back into a normal mentality. And as soon as he goes to this bitch's house, he has a fistful of fucking pills. Bottles full of just random pills that aren't even prescribed to him, that do not even belong to him. He comes back with that shit and is like, baby, I need to sell this to make some money. Which, of course, I live in the hood, so he can sell it to anybody around here. He went to his grandmother's the other day and she gave him some of her Valium. He stole more Valium from her because apparently what she gave him was not enough. And I was like, baby, where did you get that? And he's like, well, I went to my grandmother's today and she gave me some. And I said, and how much of it did you steal from her? And he said, well, a couple pills. Like stealing is okay from anybody, much less your own grandmother. I mean, come on. No. At any rate, that is the day, which would have been Tuesday of this week, the 23rd of April. This is the day that he went to his grandmother's. Okay. He goes to his grandmother's house, and he's supposed to be moving a television. I had to work that day. He's supposed to be moving a television for her, and that's it. I call him from work on my break, and I'm like, baby, have you gone to your grandmother's yet? Are you moving her television yet? And he says, no, I've not gone to my grandmother's yet. I wanted to wait for you to come home. And I said, well, I won't be home for a few more hours, so it's perfectly okay for you to go to your grandmother's, help her move the TV, blah, 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 blah. So, he calls his grandmother apparently while I'm still at work, and ends up over there. When I get home, I text him and I'm like, are you still at your grandmother's? And he's like, yes. Well, I said, well, what are you doing there? And he said, well, I moved the TV and now I'm planting a plant for her and then I'll be home. And I said, okay, good, because I need to make dinner and I just wanted to know if you were going to be home tonight or if you're going to stay away from the house. I said, well, I need to go to the store to return something. So, would you please ask your grandmother if she could take me to the store to return this merchandise because it doesn't fit and I need credit for it. Or a refund for it, whatever. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll ask her and I'll be there in just a second. I'm almost finished with this planting. So, he finishes the planting. He and his grandmother pull up in the driveway. I walk out the front door. We go to the store. I return the merchandise. And I said, would you please stop at this service station because I need to get cigarettes. And his grandmother's like, fine, yeah, I've got to be back home by 1. By this time, it's like 15 till 1. So we stop at the service station and he insists. I didn't even know that he was going to go in with me. He's following me into the store and he's like, well, buy me this alcohol. I was like, okay, fine. You know, as long as you don't drink it all, you'll be fine. His grandmother drops us off back here. I'm assuming she went straight back to her house because she was trying to meet someone there. And if you're wondering why my hand is unwrapped, the hospital told me that I have to unwrap my hand that is broken because it will swell up. It's broken in 3 places. So it's a necessity for me to unwrap it and then wrap it back up and do all this until they can put a regular cast on it when the swelling goes down. At any rate, he and I are here. He has his alcohol. I have a beer that I bought, which is a 40. I'm not going to deny that. I do not mind drinking. I do not get crazy when I drink anymore. So, I buy him his 5th, and I have a 40.